Good evening, SBC. Good evening, SBCC. Good evening, BSL. And good evening to the other internet listening audience. This is the June 14, 2022 edition of SBC Tuesday Talk. And I am your host and facilitator for tonight, Mr. Michael Walker. And we have a great loaded show tonight. And I just say this is brothers night, so it's definitely the brothers. So we definitely impart some wisdom to you this evening. So, but before we get started, let's do some salutations momentarily. We got Irene, glad to have you here. Sherry, great as always to have you here. Jenna Morgan, always good to have you here. Keenan Lynn from the Magnolia State, good to have you. Andrea Sylvie, glad to have you. Margaret Campfield from Pennsylvania, good to see you. See who else. Well, some more might come in as we go on, though. So let's go without further ado. Let's get started, though. And as you see, starting from my left, we have from South Carolina, we got Reginald Balders. We got Dwan Jackson from Florida. And we got Nathan from Houston, Texas. We got Marcus from Beltsville, Alabama. We got VL Foils from Illinois. And we have Chauncey from the Sunshine State. Gentlemen, glad to have y'all here. It's a pleasure. Great to have y'all here. Well, let's not waste any more time, shall we? As you know, what this coming Sunday is, okay? Yeah, he already started. You know what?
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
You know what Sunday is now? It's Father's Day. It's Father's Day. And so far, some of those sisters have been quiet as of late, though. But I fear that as the week progresses, then that nonsense start to begin about I've been both a mother and a father. So I don't know how is that possible, though. And a sister, this is from last year, really. A sister decided to address this now. Y'all take a listen.
Today, I want to stop y'all before y'all get started. Now, y'all know what I mean. Father's Day is coming up, and we do not want to hear it. Now, y'all do this every year. Some of society is fed up, including me. Dear single moms, please, please, please do not say you are fathers for Father's Day. Do not say, I'm the mommy and the daddy. Happy Father's Day to me. Bragging about something that's not an accomplishment. Because you do both parts does not mean it's effective. Kids need their fathers. Even if their father is not active in their life, a father figure in any way, shape, or form will do justice. Give the men the credit, please. Then take advantage of Mother's Day. Don't take advantage of Father's Day. Celebrate the men and honor them on Father's Day. Thanks from our TED Talk.
So to start things off, Father's Day is not part 2 of Mother's Day. And I'll read this one more time. Father's Day is not, N-O-T, part 2 of Mother's Day. Gentlemen, why is it that we as either biological fathers or uncles or father figures in general, why can't we have this day to ourselves? And I'm looking at this panel, and I don't think any of us go to that our second Sunday in May talking about where's my flowers, where's my card, where's my dinner, cook me something for Mother's Day. That's for mothers. So, and that's a lot. Sometimes I think Mother's Day is celebrated, I guess, more than Father's Day, which is nothing wrong with that. Mothers are very important, though. But why can't we have our day? Why can't we have our day? Of all things considered, though. Anyone want to take a shot at this? You know what, Nathan?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, for personal reference,
Mm-hmm.
I did not get to know my father until I was in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised by my grandparents. But in my life, I had a grandfather, I had two uncles, and I had a pastor. So I had men in my life who groomed me, who taught me, who led me, who taught me what it meant to be a man. So even though I didn't have my biological father, I still had a male presence. So the whole I'm the father and the mother, I don't get, because at some point in a woman's life, there have to be other men surrounding her that can be an influence on their child, especially a young boy. So where are the other men in your life if you have to take on those both roles? Is my question.
And that's a good question right there. Where are the men in your life? And not necessarily talking about the platonic non relatives though. What
Right,
if you have brothers, male cousins,
right,
uncles that's along the line with you? Uh, your father, stepfather, grandfather,
right.
uncle. Where are these people? You know, and like you know, I never met my biological, you know, and so, but like you, my grandpa, he
Yeah,
instilled a lot of things in me, you
right.
know, and I don't exchange that stuff. You know, I wouldn't trade it for the world though.
Yeah, same
But
here.
and my mother did a good job, you know, with what she had to do. But even with that, you know, she was only mother. She wasn't just what mother and father. You know, you can't be both of them. Now you might try to teach things that you feel you can teach, but only a man can teach though. You know, it's certain things we can teach a girl. It's only goes so far what we can teach. And it's the same thing with a father. It's only so much, well, a mother, it's only so much a mother can teach to her son though. Wait, let me get to Keena. Reverend Jeffrey Johnson's sermon, The Making of a King and the Story of King Josiah, explains the nuances of this topic. It's not black and white. Okay. And she also says that, like this weekend, I will be honoring my brother who has showed up in my son's life. Okay. And Andrea says, the roles don't change due to circumstances. Okay. Any other brothers got a thought about this topic for this evening?
Well, when it comes to fathers, I'll put it this way: when it comes to dads, because there's a difference between a father and a dad.
Big difference.
You know, any male can be a sperm donor, but it takes one to be a dad. I was blessed in the dad department. My dad was there from birth until God called him home March the 7th, 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he taught me how to be a young man, uh, showed me how to love, respect, and cherish a woman, my mother. Never raised a hand to her at all. Took his wedding vows seriously. To death do you part.
Right.
My mother died in '95. He didn't tip out on her. He was there every night. She had cancer. Okay. I always saw my dad pray.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hear women saying that they can be male and female, there are certain things my mom taught me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and there are certain things my dad taught me. The Bible says, honor thy father and thy mother. He did not qualify and say only if they are good.
You didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't in there.
I said honor. And when you give honor to your parents, that you may have long days upon the earth. And so, I empathize with fellas that did not have a father in their life, didn't know their biological father. But I really, that's all I can do is empathize, because my dad was there. Taught me how to paint. He taught me how to cook. He taught me everything. And there are certain things that a woman just cannot teach.
Right.
A woman has estrogen. She does not have testosterone. And there are certain things a male needs to know that only can be taught by another male.
Exactly.
And so women saying that they have, they've been mother and father, well, you may try to pretend that role, but God didn't make you no man. He made you a female, and you need to stay in your place. Now, like Mike said earlier, there ought to be some men in their lives. I knew my grandfather on both sides of my family, my mother's dad and mother's dad. And they both had influence in my life, my uncles. And so I always had male figures, and my pastor. So, like I said, my dad was there for every major event in my life. From elementary to junior high to senior high. When I went off to the Navy, I accepted my call to preach. He was there to hear my first sermon, and has always been there, and asked me to preach his eulogy. So when I hear women say that, I'm like, well, you got shortchanged. Because like I said, there should be some male figure in your life that would be able to step up to the plate and do what needs to be done, because that's why a lot of these young boys out here don't know their head from a hole in the ground. Because they have not had the leadership and the teaching of another male.
Well,
yeah, your mama could whoop your behind, but she can't teach you how to be a man and how to bring up a family, how to take care of your wife, how to take care of your children. Because bottom line, the first person you see showing you how to treat a woman is your father.
exactly.
And so, you can't do both. And women have their day, and men should have their day, because there are some good dads. They fathers, dads. A father is just some person that gave up the sperm. A dad is there to take care of the child, to nurture the child, to train the child, to teach the child, to be in the child's life 24/7, not just for financial support, but emotionally, spiritually, physically. And when a man has done that, you see it in the offspring. You see it when that young man grows up and how he treats women. If the father has been a true dad and has treated his wife like a father, like a man should, then that child grows up to recognize and respect the women. But the example that is shown in a home shows up later in life.
Right.
when the love of my life passed, I asked my dad, I said, well, how do you go on after 21 years? He said, the same way I went after 38. Now, if I didn't have a dad in my life, I wouldn't know how to respond to that. But I learned by his example. And so having a dad, a true dad, is invaluable. And for those of us whose dad has been in our lives from day one, we are blessed. And if your dad is living, honor him Sunday, not just Sunday, but every day, but especially on Sunday. If you can't do it, but pick up the phone and say, hey, Dad, happy Father's Day. Just let him know that you appreciate him and the sacrifice, because Mama ain't the only one who made sacrifices. My dad worked 3 different shifts just so we can have food on the table because Mama wasn't working. Sacrifice so that we can have a good life. So I learned that from who? My dad. Not my father, but my dad. And so there is a difference, gentlemen, between being a father and being a dad.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Reginald. Thank you, Reginald. Brother Foils, what do you think is behind this phenomena of a woman wanting to be both, or claiming rather, to be both the mother and the father?
It's ironic that you asked me that question because I was pondering on that.
Okay.
And the thing that comes to mind for me is I feel like sometimes there's trauma and there's hurt feelings.
Mm.
And you can't dismiss what someone has already done. On the birth certificate in the United States, they asked the question about the father.
Mm-hmm.
And most times, now today they may do a little different than maybe they did when we were growing up. But most times, the woman identified who the father was. And most times, and even today, they don't dismiss who he is, especially when you're going for child support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They identify who the person is. So if you can declare him to the government and the courts
Mm-hmm.
and highlight who he is then, why can't we, regardless of what he did, you considered him the donor. So why not give him a level of honor in the child's life? And so it's one day, whether he was good or whether he was bad, he is on that birth certificate, that thing called father. And so let's give respect, almost like what Reggie's saying. Honor your mother and your father, regardless of what. Parents are our teachers. And regardless of what trauma, disappointment, bitterness, anger, offense that may have taken place, it's having to come to the point to realize you're still his father. And respecting that position. And sometimes it's having to realize honor many times is given out of position and not because of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It may be highlighted more because of behavior, but sometimes you're given honor because of position. If George Bush comes in a room, we stand up and give respect because he was a president of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
If Donald Trump comes in a room, he was the president of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of how we feel or what we could think regarding he was the president. And so it's having to look at what message are we sending to our children because what we may not like. And things like that, to me, is important. The message we send. My mother, I was blessed to have a stepfather as well as,
Mm-hmm.
my biological father. My mother made sure we gave honor to both.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just do it the one day a year. She did that every day. You know, so that was the example I had. And so because of that, I'm grateful. I give honor because the truth of the matter is both of them had an influence on my life.
Mm-hmm. That's very good right there. And to piggyback off of what VL and Reginald said about honoring, regardless of the plumb pitiful job the father, and we just talking about the fathers at this point, the fathers may have done in your life, honor them because one day they're gonna need your help, or they may need your help. I'm seeing a lot of times where the father wasn't there and they ended up need to be taken care of by the child they neglected though. so 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 Dwan, have you ever witnessed um mothers claiming to be both the mother and the father?
Why'd you have to ask me that question? Oh man, you know what? I'm actually my family is actually going through this right now. My let's see, my cousin,
Really?
she stays in Georgia, and so she has a son that's 21, and last Sunday, he ended up hitting her in the head with a hammer twice, put her in the hospital.
No.
Wow.
So now, and what's interesting is she thinks she's the mother, father, grandfather, uncle. She thinks she's everything. His father was in his life when he was young, but then left. Supposedly didn't want anything to do with her. That's what we're hearing from the mother. But see, the mother, who's my cousin, she has a tendency to not be alone. So you have these men coming in and out of the house, these short-term relationships, but neglecting the fact that she's not taking care of her son. So now, because there is no male figure in his life, now they're looking at trying to either press charges against them or put them in a home or some type of psychiatric facility. So it's like for her, she thought, and she homeschooled him, so he never went to school. He was always being taught by her at home. Didn't have any friends. It was just only her. So now we're at the point, he's 21, the boy is an adult, and now she's having problems. So if he had some type of male figure in his life, we can some type of a Christian male figure, just to guide him. Let him know, okay, this is what, because he doesn't know how to budget. He doesn't. The mom took his accounts. He doesn't have his own phone. She took over everything. So if she had somebody in place to teach him and to show him what to do, because sooner or later he's going to be on his own. He'll be able to take care of himself. And that's something I think only a dad should know or do, to take care of their son and show them what to do. My dad, he served 23 years in the Army, and so even though he was always in the field, when he came home, it was straight to business. It was like, this is what you do, this is how you budget, this is how you take care of the household, because he may be gone when he goes back in the field, and then I had to take over. So I learned a lot from my dad. But to have a woman trying to say that, oh yeah, I can do both. You can't do both. You can't do it.
That's important. And I am so sorry about that, Dwan, what your family dealing with right now. So definitely be praying for y'all.
Thank you.
Definitely will be. Brother Wilbanks, and having met your mother, nice lady, serious lady, and I know she don't take any mess off of you, so I know she's a good
she
woman.
She don't.
And and of course you have a great relationship with your mother, but you also and great relationship with your father who recently passed. And once again, you have our condolences.
Thank you.
And with that said, and you had a great relationship, I think y'all might have been twins. I don't know. But with that said, though, how was the co-parenting between your mother and your father?
Well, first of all, again, I thank everybody for their heartfelt wishes and their heartfelt condolences during my difficult period in time. As far as the co-parenting is concerned, let me back it up a bit. I have known my dad ever since the first day I was born, which was May 25th, 1983. And my dad was 29 years old at the time. About a month and a half or a shake and a half, as they said, from turning 30 on this upcoming July 12th, which will be his birthday coming up posthumously. And my mother and my father have been married and been in a relationship for 19 years. And of course, the relationship within its internal structure has been a bit rocky at times, because my dad, may God rest his soul, he's been a Rolling Stone himself, because he has other children with other women, of course, and it plays into the factor. I want to piggyback on everybody here. There's always a negative factor when it comes to women in general, certain women, I should say. Let me correct myself. Certain women in general say that they could be the mom and the dad, because that is a negative factor. And it's all because of certain reasons why certain women in particular, say that they could do both. One being you deprive your child of the opportunity to get to know who their father looks like, or what their father does, or what their father acts like. I mean, listen, my dad's not the most perfect man in the world. I mean, no one in this panel or in the audience right now is perfect. But guess what? My dad in particular, he served his time serving the community in the state of Alabama as a corrections officer, and trained himself as a state police officer in the corrections academy here. If I had not had that, how you make your jambalaya, how you make a gumbo, missing that all important ingredient here. Well, guess what? The father himself, in my case, was that missing ingredient, because he, in his time serving in the community in the state of Alabama that way, if I had not taken credit for the job that he did as a corrections officer, they always say discipline is key. And believe me, like you pointed out, Mike, my mom doesn't take any crap, because she's straight edge. She's as straight edge as you could ever possibly think. If everybody would have met my mother, unfiltered, but yet straight edge. But as far as co-parenting, to back that part up, to your question, Brother Mike, co-parenting was no problem at all. I mean, even after my high school year, after graduating from, of course, we know the high school here in Birmingham, Alabama, co-parenting was no problem. I mean, even after the divorce was no problem at all. I mean, my mom even prayed for my dad, even though no matter how much a man hurts a woman, no matter how much a man hurts a woman, the man will be preyed upon. Okay? The man will be preyed upon for sending the hurt out. For sending the hurt out to him. Mm-hmm. Emotional distress plays a factor as to why women don't even need a man to take care of their children. Physical factors could play a role in that one. But at the same time, and vice versa, women, you can't deprive your children, like I said, from knowing their father, no matter how much you hate him or how much he is or how much you think he is here. Mm. And that's why my mom has always had the opportunity to pray to have the hurt taken off of her. And after that, it was all smooth sailing from there. No matter how much you think about it, no matter how much you talk about him, co-parenting was not a problem with me. I mean, look how great I'm turning out so far. Even though I'm not as fortunate as anybody, even though I'm not as independent as anybody, even though I would love to be independent by myself, have my own house, have my own car, and da. But look, even though, reason being, I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. And I thank God for letting me get to know my dad, even almost 39 years, even though he would love to celebrate my 39th birthday back on May 25th. And even though he would love to have been at my niece's graduation, high school graduation at the same time anyway. Mm-hmm. But overall, co-parenting was not a problem with me. It was not a problem with me. And of course, I want to send this message out to every young brother and young sister out there. And to piggyback what Reginald and Brother Victor has said, honor your mother and your father, because that is the first commandment with promise. And God also says, obey your parents, for this is right. And if that constitutes in the Bible as it says, why are certain women nowadays not honoring what the Lord has said in his word? Now, that's the big question you need to ask yourself. I'm just saying there's certain ladies out there, not all ladies, but certain ladies out there. So
it's interesting you bring that up. I used to volunteer with a fatherhood program here in my city, and it was a court-ordered program for fathers who were behind in child support. Okay. And they would talk in a circle like us, maybe about 20 of them. And one thing was always common, that they would always say the mother would not let them visit their child. And you made me think about that.
That happens.
So I do not know why. And sometimes it was like one of the biggest reasons were, and it wasn't that he wasn't paying child support. The biggest reason she would not let the father see the child is because he, quote, moved on.
Or cheated.
Well, not necessarily that. I know
but sometimes
they cheat from daylight to sundown, and they'll still be with him. But the fact that he moved on with someone else, then that's when all hell breaks loose. We had heard stories about a man wanting to visit his child, but she had her male kinfolks there ready to beat him up or whatever if he stepped foot toward the house to see his own child. So, not blaming, definitely not sitting up here being, blaming all women, because that's not the case though. But
no,
you have some people, or at least some mothers, who want to be both mother and father when it's not proper though. So, and that makes me think about something else when you mentioned independent. I got a little video regarding independent women, and here you go. Right
Men don't want these independent, strong women. That doesn't draw me closer to you, because independent is the opposite of teammate. I'm dating you to see how well of a teammate you can be to me. I want somebody with an interdependent spirit. Somebody that's eager and looking for a teammate. Somebody that's been out in this world and be like, I don't want to do this by myself no more. Listen, I don't want to do this as a man. I don't want to do life no more by myself. I don't want to be independent no more. I want to be able to rely and trust on another human being. I want someone to help me carry the burdens and the joys of raising children, getting a home, dealing with life and its stresses. I want someone to come home to, someone to share things with. I don't want to be an independent man no more. I want a wife. So why would I be drawing closer to a woman that preaches and takes pride in being independent?
So brothers, go ahead. So brothers, and we're gonna get to BL. Independent women. How do you feel about independent women in the context that the brother explained, Brother VL?
So I'm gonna tie in kind of what we previously were saying, and with this, it's the culture. What's your culture and the influence of your culture? While listening to the video, I was thinking about one of my siblings. One of my brothers died, and he probably wasn't the best father to my niece. But one thing about my niece, she always honored her dad. She always gave respect for her dad. And not only her dad, her stepdad, she considered me to be a spiritual dad, even giving honor to her husband. She's given honor to men because of her culture, because of the people around her, because the mother's philosophy was interdependency. And so she respected the fact that she needed other people. And the reality is we need people. And so what is your culture and the influence of your culture going to have in your child? Because your child came into not only your family, but it came into your culture. And just like your family had influenced your child, your culture is going to influence your child. And so are there men in your culture? Is men honored within your culture? Are women honored within your culture? Is the Bible or biblical principles honored within your culture? Because that tells me a lot. What are the values of your culture? Because that's not only, I don't look at just the independent woman, but I look at her culture. What is her culture saying? The pity party is a culture. And so what are you listening to? Because what's influencing you? And so I just think of that. Look at the culture and realizing that I'm a co-influencer. And so she's a co-influencer of their child, of the family, in the relationship. She's not an independent, because independence sometimes is pride. And so sometimes that pride may have chased somebody away. Because I don't need you. I'm not connected with you. So, so you look at your independence, but you want a relationship. So at some point there ought to be the bridge of interdependency. Because why are you longing for the thing you pushing away? Why are you, because of your past trauma, you're taking it out on these innocent victims? Counseling is sometimes just needed to deal with that pride, that independence, because sometimes that is a defense mechanism. And sometimes it's a sign of past trauma.
I was about to say that.
Myself up because of the fact that I don't want to get hurt again.
And we say this all the time. BL, you're a living witness to this. And so is Nathan, that you have some sisters, not all, but they still haven't healed from past hurts. And that is a coping mechanism. One of the coping mechanisms right there is, well, I don't need you. I'm going to be independent. I don't need this. I don't need that. But we need each other when it comes to this courting game that we're doing. We need each other. But man and woman need each other. Let me qualify that. Man and woman need each other. So Reginald.
Go ahead.
Then Nathan.
What if you ever further?
Yeah, and then Nathan.
First, let me present and say that the family as a whole didn't approve of this marriage. But my cousin decided to marry this young girl.
Mm-hmm.
And they were married for 13 years. And one day, Ebony tells Anthony, my cousin, I do not want to be married anymore.
Mm.
After 4 kids.
Mm.
She decided to take him to court, and she used those 4 kids as a weapon and tried to injure him. You know, he wasn't the reason for the breakup. There was no cheating or anything of that type of nature. She just decided she wanted to be on her own. You know, but after the divorce activity had been resolved, and a few years there later, he met this young lady.
Mm-hmm.
And when Ebony found out that he had moved on, she got angry and went back to court and was asking for more stuff. You know, so you have a certain sector of women that will use their children as weapons against the man. No matter how good of a father or dad he is. I know 2 here in Colombia that went through divorce proceedings. And normally, when you go to divorce court, it's an unlevel playing field. 9 times out of 10, the judge is going to side with the mother. But on occasion, they get a clue. And understand that that father, that dad, can be just as good of a parent as that mother in that circumstances. And I know on a few occasions, the judge has rewarded the kids custody to their father and not to their mother. And so when you got a woman like that, that will use her children as a weapon to try to bring down the man, and then turn around and say, your daddy ain't nothing. He a no good blankety blank, 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 blank. But you're the one that's keeping him away from your children. Trying to keep him away so he cannot fortify a relationship with the children. And so, you know, when you hear women talking about I'm mother and father, then you have to always check the source. Why are they saying that? Are they that type of woman that will keep their kid away from their father? And now you're saying I'm mother and father, but you won't let the dad have a relationship because you're using the courts as a weapon to keep your child away from your, you know. And so when women say that, you always got to consider what they're not saying. Anytime a woman says that, you have to look at her with a raised eyebrow. What is it in that sentence that you're not saying? You know, because there's a lot of underlying situations that's going on. Maybe you that type of woman that would do that. And there's quite a few. If you would go down to the divorce court, you would see quite a few that will use their children as weapons. You know, and the child is the one who gets caught up in the mess. Where's my daddy? That no good so-and-so. But you're the one that's keeping him away. And so you got to kind of, and they talk about independent, I can do this and I don't need a man. Well, first of all, when you do a wedding, I've done several, there's a part of the ceremony where the groom and the bride goes into a certain section of the church. And in that section, there is 3 candles. His family, his side, her family, her side, and there's one in the middle. It's called a unity candle. You cannot be unified when one being independent. There is no I in team. It takes two to be in a marriage, not one. One can't be independent of the other because that's not a marriage. If you want to be independent of the other, don't get married. But it comes to a point where you have to come together and work together to nurture and raise those children the way they need to be raised, regardless of the fact that you might not can't stand her guts. Because I don't care what kind of marriage you got, teeth and tongue gonna fall out. That's Bible. You ain't gonna agree with her every day, and she don't agree with you every day. But you have to put the kids' needs first, because those kids are like sponges. They soak up everything. They see how you interacting with each other. They see how you talk to each other. They see if you giving PDAs, public of PDA. They see all that. But when they don't see, all they hearing is you just like your blank and blank daddy, then what are you raising? You're raising children that's going to repeat your activity in your mindset. And so that's not a good thing. So these independent women, God didn't make you independent. Now, if you're depending solely on God, that's one thing different. But if God has blessed you with a man, a husband, then you have to work as a team. There's no, like I said, there's no I in team.
Okay, Nathan, brother Nathan.
Again, kind of piggybacking on the gentleman. Two things. One, when we talk about the women again being mother and father, and as a disclaimer, sisters, this is not a bashing session. This is just observations. This is not applying to, just like Marcus said, we're not applying this to every woman. This is just what VL said. The culture kind of shows us, so we're just speaking on it. But for good or for bad, any child is a product of both the mother and the father. And sometimes the personality, the temperament, the habits, the traits, sometimes you'll see something in that child, even if the father's not there, they've been passed down to that child anyway. And so even if the father's not involved, you're still dealing with that man through the child, because there's a personality trait there. Where'd you get that from? You got it from his dad. So that has to be trained, that has to be nurtured, that has to be discipled out of him to prepare him for how he should be. Even if it's not by his dad, it needs to be by another man. But the whole independent thing, a lot of women, and I say this in love, sisters, a lot of women will quote Proverbs 31:10, but they walk in Proverbs 21:9. And Proverbs 31 is not for single women, because that woman was married. And she carried herself as a wife. In that book, in that chapter, it talks about her husband. She respected her husband. So no matter how much of a virtuous woman you want to be, if you're going to be that kind of woman, you have to respect your husband. You have to have the attitude, the mindset. And an independent woman is not going to respect a man. It's very difficult for them to. So that's why they turn to Proverbs 21:9. They are contentious. They're argumentative. They to the point to where, just like that verse says, a man would rather live on the roof of his house than to stay in the house with a contentious woman. We don't like arguing. We don't like debating. We don't want to come home and we got to fight the world and then fight you. So it becomes frustrating. It becomes draining. Someone said, read Proverbs 31:10 in the New Living Translation. It says, "Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies." So she has qualities as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
So any sister who wants to be the wife, who wants to, exhibit those qualities, that woman in no way, shape, or form was independent. She took care of her household, and her husband gained respect based on how she carried herself.
Mm-hmm.
An independent woman can't do that. And we're not telling you what you can and can't do. It's not about that, because that woman did a lot, but she honored her husband.
Mm-hmm.
If you as a wife, as a woman want to be a wife, that's where you have to draw the line. Whoever I meet, whoever I get with, can I respect that man? If I can't, then leave him alone. You have to be willing to be his piece. Yes, he's going to love you like Christ loved the church. That's his job. That's his responsibility. That's what he's supposed to do. But he has to have your respect as well. And if you're not ready for that, don't ask God for something you're not ready for. So you can't be independent and be a Christian wife. The two don't go together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, brother. Quickly, we're going to shift gears real quickly. I want to hear the brother's opinion on this little clip right here. Don't grin, Nathan, and don't do that, y'all.
I'm listening, man.
Just listen, y'all.
Even if it takes 1 second of his time out that day, he gonna call that girl.
You gonna know
say,
that.
Hey,
You gonna
babe,
know that.
or whatever he call you, whatever love or shawty, whatever nickname he gonna check up on you. But if a guy go the whole day without talking to you, sweetie, he don't like you. Even if it takes 1 second of his time out that day, he gonna call that girl.
You gonna know
say,
that.
Hey,
You gonna
babe,
know that.
or whatever he call you, whatever love or shawty, whatever nickname he gonna check up on you. But if a guy go the whole day without talking to you, sweetie, he don't like you.
Okay.
Marcus, why don't you deal with that?
What is the question?
You know what? There is no question. Just what do you think of that?
Oh boy, I really can't put a finger on that one. I was thinking, like, what is she saying? What is she thinking? Well, I'll just say this. Just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. If you think for 1 second that if that's your motivation on how a man is, leave him alone. That's all I have to say. Leave him alone. If he doesn't take the time of day or to check up on you and say, babe, what you doing? Hey, are you all right? Hey, if he doesn't do that, leave him alone. Hey, if you think he's gonna batter you to death by skipping over to the next shawty, as they say in the hood, leave him alone. That's all I can say is I get on my P's and Q's on that one. I mean, even my mom, if I had to piggyback on this one, even my mom, after 19 years of putting up with my dad, and all of his mess, all of his negative mess, she moving on. Yeah, she is moved on anyway. I mean, there were other options on the table as to how you want to nullify the marriage or nullify the divorce anyway. Hey, I mean, certain women wants to be paid in full, or in my mom's case, she wants her maiden name right back before she got into the marriage and became Mrs. Wilbanks.
And I don't mean to interrupt you though.
Yeah,
but she's saying that if a man doesn't call you all day, listen, if she talk like this, if her normal inside voice is like that on a regular basis, then you see why he may not be calling her all day. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Because she was rather
that's
loud.
Definitely not her inside voice. That is definitely not her inside voice. That's like they said, the old saying goes, hell had no fury like a woman scorned. I think she's more than a scorned woman right there. If that's if that's her inside voice, that is a scorned woman or an obsessed woman that I don't know. What do you think? I mean, anybody else? Anybody else?
She just mad. She just mad because she's not getting any calls. That's all. Yeah. Nobody's calling her.
She's definitely not getting any calls. She's definitely not getting any calls.
Nathan?
I do. I get her point. I can see what she's saying because it's a communication thing. If you care about somebody, there is no way you can go all day. Yeah, we all got jobs. We all got lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, things happen. But if I'm in a relationship with somebody, even if I'm courting or getting to know her, and he or she can go all day without talking to me, you're probably not that interested in me. So I get that. But at the same time, her presentation is very aggressive. So yeah, like you're saying, why would I want to call it? That's like you talking to me. So and that's why Marcus is saying if that's how you're presenting yourself, I don't want to be around that. Why would as a man would I want to be around that when that's what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm. And
go ahead. It's Reginald's turn.
Well, Victor had his hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
I think part of it is that she heard something from somebody and she made it a universal principle. She took something that was subjective and made it objective. Just because someone don't talk to you every day does not mean they're not interested. If we go back about 40 years, before the internet, before technology being as it is, there were times people was in the military and overseas. They didn't get the letter, every day. It may have been a week or 2 weeks and stuff like that. He was doing something sometimes for the betterment of the relationship, and he may not have been able to communicate. And I think it's dangerous when we make these subjective things as a matter of fact and saying that they're objective. They're not applicable in all situations. Right. I think the principle could be something to highlight. The man has to show a person has to show some level of commitment. Yes. But you got to look at the character and what's going on in that person's world when you're doing that. You just can't take it because they're not picking up the phone to call you, because then there's those sisters that don't want the text. So he may be texting you, but you don't like the text because you want the phone call.
Mm.
Well,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
go
ahead, Rachel. Go ahead, Rachel.
Rachel's turn.
Well, last I checked, the phone works both ways.
What you say, Brother Reginald? What you saying now?
No, that's one of my pet peeves that gets my goat. That's why I had to fire this young lady. Okay, if I can take out the time to text or call you, but you can't pick up the phone and call me, that's a problem. That's a major problem. And she talking about, well, he don't love me because he ain't calling me. But honey, baby, listen, what's wrong with you calling him? Sometimes maybe a man wants some flowers sent to his job.
What you say about
maybe a man might want dinner cooked when he got home. Maybe he might want his car washed. In other words, it ain't about you all the time. That's a very selfish, me attitude. You're never going to have nobody. And she will never have nobody unless you get a wimp dog that's going to bow down and do everything she say do. But a man that got some gonna bounce up at himself ain't going to put up with that. No, they ain't gonna do that, honey, baby. If you gotta show some affection towards me too. This is a together thing. This ain't no me thing. This is a together thing. And like I said, hey, if I put on a nice suit, can I hear you say, baby, you look nice? I said you look drop dead gorgeous in that dress, but you can't return the compliment because it's all about you. But baby, honey, delicious. There's another bus coming down the street. Bye.
With that said, though, and I close this out with my experience. I have been in relationships. The lady got hopping mad at me because I didn't call or whatever. At least I didn't call on the consistency that was acceptable to what she wanted. And then they come up with that famous line, so I'm going to do all the calling, huh? You know, but we communicate. I send you a text. Yes, I'll call. Then I don't know your schedule. You know, I don't know what you're doing. Now, I'm open. You can call me at any time. But I don't know what you're doing. So, but to say that a person don't love you because you don't use Marbell, you know, that's kind of, I don't even know how to even describe that though. But like I said at the beginning of this segment, if that's her inside voice, then that no pun intended, that speaks volumes about the whole situation. With that said, y'all, we're out of time. And usually Marcus do the announcements, but I need to do it tonight because I need to point out some things though. So Marcus, if you don't mind, if I do it this night,
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, sir. Coming up next is the after party. Now, usually we say, well, we'll post the Zoom link up and you click on it and we go there. Well, we're going to try something different for this week, at least for this week only. We're going to use our Facebook audio voice in the group. It'll pop up in the group. You'll see it. It'll look like another live video. You just click on it and you can join in. You can listen. It's almost like Clubhouse, and that'll be the after party. The only downside is it'll be only limited to SBCC members, but most of the SBC people are in SBCC, so we'll see how that work out. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, and then coming Saturday, we have Saturday Night Social, and it's named that tune week. So we're going to hit the 80s pretty hard on this one. So get your music knowledge ready. And, you know, you better study, get ready. We're going to have a good time like we did last time. And it all starts over again next week with another exciting edition of Tuesday Talk. What we're going to talk about, I don't know. But we'll just tune in and find out, okay? So, gentlemen, to Reginald, to Dwan, Nathan, Marcus, and VL, thank you all so much. It was an honor for me to have y'all here tonight. And to thank you to the audience outside, out in the viewing land, thank you for your support and encouragement. So if there's nothing else, Lord will, we'll see each other later. Talk to y'all soon. So long, everybody.
So long.